I am today going to take the Twingo to a shop and hopefully fix it finally. Drive shafts. I hope to actually inspect this thing now. Naughty, naughty Twingo. Hey guys, good morning. I am today going to take the Twingo to a shop and hopefully fix it finally. For that I just loaded up parts, tools, more tools, a bag that broke, and another tool, and I'm heading over there and I hope I can get everything done. Front suspension, rust taken care of, well, that's basically it, so let's go. I found something new after the Twingo settled a little bit. I just turned the ventilation on and here we go. Nice squealing fan there. That's a bit annoying. I'll see if it's an easy access, but I kind of doubt it. Yeah, so as soon as I turn the ventilation on, it squeaks from out of there. Down here? Yeah, I don't know. Oh. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know where the fan sits in these. I'll have to research that. And what I forgot completely is also to look if this is connected, because this isn't doing anything on neither mirror. So I assume switch maybe, or connector. I don't know. Could also be. Hold on. Could also be dual harness, but I don't know. It looks like it doesn't have a problem, and these work. I also noticed that this is stuck under there. Parking disc thingy, an ice scratcher. No, it's an ice scratcher here. So I just have to take the door panel off. Can't be that difficult. Probably take one screw, two screws, remove this. Can't be that hard. It's Twingo. I mean, this is metal door panel, so yeah. Okay, I'm back home from the shop. The Twingo was fixed to a varying extent, and because the shop had music going, other people working, and yeah, I was just not really feeling that I should just run around pointing my camera at everybody and talking over everything. Yeah, so I just filmed a few little things here and there, and I'm just gonna voice over and tell you what I've been doing, what went right, what went wrong, and or you will see. So let's start here. So I got to the shop and we put it on the lift that I rented there for the day. And before I could even, I showed him, I pointed out briefly where the rust was that I showed you in the previous video. Before I could even do anything or notice that there was things going on, because he told me initially he's going to do that later once I'm done with all my stuff. He already had cut it out and started preparing it for the weld, and then there's a quick shot here. Then I turn away, with the suspension, I turn around and he's welding already. Yeah, and then he was done within, I don't know, a couple of minutes. It didn't take half an hour. That looks good and that should be fine. Then I went to the front axle. I started taking out all the bolts that I could see. I took off the shock tower bolts. I took out the nut for the steering linkage, and I tried to take out the bolt for the control arm going into the carrier. I took the brakes off, brake pads, brake rotors. The pads, as you can see, they're still doable. They did pass the test like that, but yeah, not a bad thing to replace them. I took obviously out the castle nut in the middle, and I put the caliper aside. I just put it back on the axle. And then the old carrier on the passenger side came off, and as you can see, it is spinning fine. It looks okay, but hey. And I ended up taking out the bolts that hold the ball joint in place instead of the ball joint out of the carrier, because it was just easier, and since it's no oval holes or anything like that, it's just bolted back, there's no alignment needed, so it was easier to do. On the driver's side, both of these stupid set screws on the rotor didn't fancy coming off. They just rounded off, and yeah, nothing to do there. Thankfully, that didn't stop me from taking off anything there because, well, I had to take out the castle nut anyway, so I just pulled the hub off with everything with the rotors on. And as you can see here, the bearing on that side, the wheel bearing, is just shot. It's nicely red ground powder, it's rust, and yeah, that's where my noise is from. 1 hour later, we're done with fiddling with the presses, with the press and the bushings, and both of these carriers have new wheel bearings and new wheel hubs. But as you can see, for some reason, one side just didn't want to spin as easily. We checked, we made sure it's sitting right and everything. I noticed then that bearing that we put in there, in the box, wasn't plastic wrap, and it was all nice and cold, so I assumed maybe it just needs to wear in a little bit. And the more I kept playing with it, the better it got, kind of. So, yeah. We didn't really have a choice because that's the bearings I had. The old ones were out and broken. Yeah, so what are we gonna do? And then the next step was those stupid rubber boots on the steering. I considered taking off the rubber boots by just removing the steering linkage completely. I had new tie rods there and tie rod ends, but I couldn't disconnect the tie rod ends and the tie rods because it was just stuck on both sides. And as you can see, the rubber boots on the other ones just completely ripped into pieces and torn. I managed to get a new one somehow over that. I managed to squeeze that new and stretch that new rubber boot to the point where I could get it over the entire ball joint and everything. As you saw on the footage there, there's a tiny little rip in there, but it's a billion times better than before because it was literally apart before. And then I reassembled everything on that side, and then I was like, wait a second, why does this not line up? And I just confused myself. Why did I confuse myself? Easy, because obviously this isn't supposed to line up because the brake rotor isn't flat, is it? You know, it just goes on there. And yeah, I was stupid enough to confuse myself there. I took the caliper holder back off and put it on the other side, and I was like, wait a second, that doesn't do anything, that does the opposite. And then I turned my brain on and put it back the way it was and put the disc actually on there and realized I was just being stupid. And then that was done. I mean, the same on the other side. Put it all back together with a wheel on the driver's side. The bearing that felt like it was pretty stiff, or that was obviously pretty stiff, was okay. Could turn it with a wheel and it was all fine. I mean, didn't really have any option to do anything else there. So put it all back together and drove it home. And nothing on the way home felt like it was off. It didn't wobble or didn't feel like it was pulling to one side or something. And did notice though, while the permanent grinding noise was gone, so bearing, there was still a like rotational bound clunking and occasional grinding, which means drive shafts. Anyway, I took it home and put it to sleep because long day, and I was done with it for the day. And we're back at the inspection place because I hope to actually inspect this thing now after doing all those fixes on it. So yeah, we'll see. Naughty Twingo. We just had it on the lift and the front right wheel bearing is suddenly loose. The new one. I don't even know. And it looks like the shock top mount is also loose, or the mount bushing is dead or something. I don't know. It wasn't like that a couple of weeks ago when we last had it on the lift and wanted to inspect it. But both of those things were fine. I put a new bearing in, as you saw, left and right, because the left one was shot, and I figured, well, I got both here and a kid, so I might as well do both, and now the right one is suddenly not fine. I don't even know. Anyway, I'm gonna head over to the shop where I rented a lift and had the car welded and did the front suspension bits, and I'll see if I can sneak it on the lift for a minute and just have a look if something happens to be loose or something. I don't know. Well, plans change, huh? Not the shop, but the carport. No, well, carport is over there. Driveway. Because, parental duties. I had to come home quick, so yeah, turned around and went home. So I'm gonna put this on the jack in the front right, and have a look what's going on there. Okay, car's in the air, well, wheels in the air, and if you have a closer look, I hope it doesn't smooth it out or something. Kind of does. But hold on, let's try like this. But yeah, I don't know, it is wobbly. And it seems like it's a wheel bearing, which is weird because it's brand new. So I'm gonna take the wheel thingy off. I said I'm gonna take the wheel thingy off, and then come on. Is it all nice and loose? Yes, it is. And then I'll see if I can reproduce it with the brake disc itself. I think this side even should have a set screw on the brake disc. The other one doesn't even. And the funny thing is, this is the side that we thought was perfectly fine after installing it. Sometimes it's all funny and weird, isn't it, sometimes? One more. These are so nice and light. Okay. You can see it's like moving within the caliper. Although it's difficult to see while I'm also holding the phone. But yeah. There's play in there. There shouldn't be any play in there. Why is there play in there? It's not on the steering. I mean, he checked that. He was of the opinion it was definitely in the wheel bearing. So, I don't know. I might try to torque this down more. Castle nut. Everything else seems to be tight. I mean... Oh yeah, and then he did this. Hold on. Interesting, he could move that earlier. What? I'm confused. I might have a look under the hood and at the top mount. Huh, weird. Okay, I'm not a mechanic, I took the top off, but I'm reasonably certain that I shouldn't be able to move this like back and forth and leave it in that position. This doesn't seem right. Okay, I kind of can, in fact, move this one around as well. Okay, I need to intersect here and correct myself because I did some Googling, some researching, and apparently the top mount of the Twingo in this setup of the suspension is designed like that, and only once it's underweight it centers itself in the mount. So this is apparently quite normal, and as you can see, or could see there, the top mount and the bushing, everything looks also pretty new on that side. So yeah, it is fine as is. Things you learn. Okay, much to my disliking, I was actually able to turn this probably 2 or 3/4 of a turn before I started pushing against the engine. So this was not properly in there. This was not torqued down properly. So I'm actually going to put the wheel on, put it on the floor, and then torque that thing even more. I mean, it's in gear right now. It's still turning over as we had when we tested it, but I just eliminated any kind of movement in here. I'm not sure why this isn't tight, because I gave this a couple of ugga-duggas and then this, and it still came undone somehow. I'll check the other one, but at least this doesn't wobble anymore because of these. Yeah, I just tightened that down. This is not designed for a cotter pin. Would be helpful. I just torqued the hell out of that because reasons. And I checked this side, and I got about a maybe a quarter turn out of it before I couldn't do anything more. So this, I guess, was fine, but yeah, this side was not. Well, as you saw, the wobble is gone, but I have not taken it back to be inspected because I decided I'm just going to do the drive shafts. I have ordered new ones. They arrived yesterday, and I'm gonna see when I feel like getting under the car, out in the cold, because it's around freezing most of the time, even during the day right now. And I'm gonna have to make a little mess, hopefully, that I can contain. And yeah, then I'm gonna do the drive shafts. But that will definitely be in the next video regarding the Twingo, because yeah, no, it's enough. You've suffered enough today. See you in the next video.